The all-new Volkswagen Tiguan is today in Autogefühl, your number one resource for in-depth car reviews and your number one community to discuss cars. We're up here in the north in Sweden, so welcome to Sverige. Minus 25 degrees, and that's the reason why we also have the engine running, because we don't want to get it frozen. So you usually do that up here. We're going to have an ice and snow test, obviously, you see that, but we're going to tell you everything you need to know about the exterior, interior, and of course about the driving of the all-new Volkswagen Tiguan. This is the all-new model. For the first time it's on the MQB platform, the modular building platform Volkswagen has. So there will really be a lot of news inside. It's a completely new car and we have every fact you need to know, no matter in which market you are in. Let's go! And we'll not only focus on the safety aspects, but also on the fun aspects. Since 2007, 2.6 million cars of the old generation of the Tiguan has been sold. This new generation should top it, and I think that might work. I'll tell you later on why. Starting with the design, well, obviously the Tiguan so far was pretty versatile and practical car, but not, let's say, the most beautiful one. This one here, to me, I think it's really a design highlight now. Of course, it's oriented on the Passat, and what was interesting, that the designers told me they have integrated in a V and an A, and I was looking at the front and first thought, what do they mean? And if you look very closely, so this could be the V form, formed by the horizontal lines, they're going straight into the headlights, so it's a very smooth transition. So this is kind of a V, and below there, from the lower bumper, this is then the A. This is a Highline trim level car, so one of the top trim levels. And this one has also the off-road package with a little bit more ground clearance and all-wheel drive. We also see that from the side profile. So ruby red is the color, Highline trim level, and plus the optional off-road package here. And now it gets really interesting as we look at the side profile. First of all, because we have new design lines, for example, on the height of the door handles, is more dynamic, especially in the side profile. And we're starting with bigger alloys, even in the standard trim levels. Here, these ones are the optional 19-inch alloys, so quite a huge. And you always have also bigger tires now. The off-road package, you see it right here, has a contrasting plastic cover here at the wheel arches, to create this off-road look and also make it, a little bit more resistant against some damage here around the wheel arches. Of course, you don't have to take it. If you have the 4Motion, the all-wheel drive, the ground clearance is always a little bit higher. Overall, we have total about 20 centimeters of ground clearance here with the Tiguan. And if you have the off-road package, the angle in the front is also changed a little bit, so you can even go up steep angles. And now pay attention, because a lot of numbers are coming now. The total length of the car is now at 4 meters 48, and that is 6 centimeters longer than the predecessor and even 7 centimeters longer in the wheelbase. That also tells us something about the interior space we will soon show you as well. And then it gets interesting for the Asian market and also our friends in the US. Next year, because this one year is starting in April, May 2016 in all over Europe, Germany, and then next year, 2017, this one will also be available in the US and in Asia, but as the long wheelbase model. Short wheelbase model like this one here will be built in Germany, in Wolfsburg, the long wheelbase model will be built in Mexico then for the American market. And the long wheelbase model, then again some numbers, pay attention, will then have a total length of 4 meters 63. That means 11 centimeters more in wheelbase and 15 centimeters more in the total length. Just scroll that back again. If you can't remember the numbers, then you have it again. And there another interesting aspect, because if you're then in Germany and buy a long wheelbase model with also 7 seats, then you get it from Mexico. If you buy the 5-seat model, the short wheelbase, you get it from Germany. In America only the 7-seater, and in China even more complicated. In China we have 7-seater and optional the 5-seater then, which is then imported to China. So that's about different market aspects. Let's now continue to the rear. The all-new generation is not only longer, it's also flatter and broader, and that creates an overall sportier look. And they have paid attention to that. We will show you in the interior that you can also load things very well into the car. That also plays an effect here. And you see that the taillights here, they also have this kind of 3D effect to make it even more spectacular. The off-road package then has again the plastic fender below here, and there will also be an R-Line package available, which then has the more sporty appearance. You can already check that out in our motor show from Frankfurt, the static review. I've shown you the R-Line and also the GTE, which will be coming up later. You can also check out the designs there already. So tell me what you think about the design of the all-new model. Magic? Haha, that was a trick, wasn't it? Let's open the hood. And did you hear the difference from the insulation? Hear it again. The engine insulation. Really big sound difference. This is a 2-liter TDI, and yes, a very famous engine at the moment. But of course the new engines have nothing to do with the current diesel issues for the old 2-liter TDIs. Later on we also have the petrol engine for you. In general, there will be these 2-liter TDIs, 115 until 240 horsepower, 4 different versions. The 240 horsepower engine will then be the top version with a bi-turbo. And then let's talk about the petrol engines. There we'll have 2 choices from the displacement. The first one is the 1.4 liter engine. The second one is also the 2-liter TFSI. This diesel here, by the way, this one here is now the one with 150 horsepower. Later on we'll also drive the petrol engine with 180 horsepower, 180 it is. And well, they're both comparable in the Newton meters of torque, 150 horsepower diesel or 180 horsepower petrol engine. The petrol engine has almost also the certain range. So you can just remember 1.4 liter, 2 liter for the petrol, 2 liter diesel, and horsepower ranges about 115 to 240 horsepower in the range. So a lot of choices for the engines, and the bigger ones all have the all-wheel drive combined and also DSG, dual clutch transmission. And the lower you go from the engine, then you can also go manual and of course also without all-wheel drive. One thing that still belongs to the exterior, you've seen the button here. This one pops out the towing equipment, and the overall car has saved 50 kilograms of weight with the MQB, but here behind there's a towing capacity of 2.5 tons. So for your trailer, I think that should work. Now let's get inside. I like those solid door handles and also the closing sound of the door. Just listen to that. Wow, really cool. Then let's get inside. This is the Highline trim level, as I told you earlier. For example, we got those carbon style elements, and not really carbon fiber, it's just a style on the inside. Close here. And for example, the opening of the hood from the inside is placed right here. It's a good thing because you get out and just activate that button and then everything is opening automatically in the rear. Here, for example, for a camera, some storage space on the inside of the doors. Highline equipment with special seats, but first of all, off-road package, you also got those covers here. Almost looks like the Porsche letters, don't you think so as well? These ones are my favorite seats overall. Alcantara on the inside, cloth on the outside. You know, that's for practical, for sustainability, for every reason, the best seats overall. And I can tell you they are really super comfortable. I can just recommend exactly those. You don't need the optional Ergo Comfort seats. Those ones are really just awesome. One of the best seats overall I've driven so far. And also you see also from the visual part, they are really very nice. The cockpit here in the Highline equipment, we got a lot of, let's say, glossy covers like here around the dashboard. Digital instruments, optional. It's called Active Info Display, same technology as the Audi Virtual Cockpit, 2.3 inch. You can adjust them, of course, as they're digital, but you can also still get the analog modes. There's also a head-up display inside. You can adjust the height right here, the left lower part. And then there's the head-up display above there. Let me show you a shot where the head-up display is also in place when we drive the car. It's not directly to the windscreen, it's a separate small window. And let's see what we have here at the middle console. The biggest screen that is also available, and really very nice resolution and a very clear display, and also with the proximity sensor when you come closer. Then you have the certain touchscreen buttons, but also the shortcuts. We'll soon go into the detail of the infotainment system, that you can see that one. Then let's take a look here. This is the climate unit, classic Volkswagen style. Very simple, but also from good quality. DSG, we have here dual clutch transmission, good performance, and I've also talked to an engineer yesterday. Those issues they had once with the DSG, that it overheats in traffic, they promised me that this has been resolved totally. And let's look here, some storage space in the middle console, for example, for the key. This is now the new off-road gear selector, and I will go into detail about that very soon. You can change it, snow mode, normal, off-road and individual. And in the driving part, I will explain you all the differences of these driving modes. Then the middle armrest, and this one is also very solid. Cannot really go to the right and left. And some space for maybe a walkie-talkie or some camera equipment as well. No USB port there. You only have one USB slot, and that is placed right here. Overall, because we have the MQB, the modular building platform, the whole interior has more space. You already feel it on the inside. You sit higher, and it feels like a little Touareg now, definitely already in the front. One more practical storage space is right here in the front left part. By the way, the storage space on the inside of the doors are also suitable for huge bottles. You see it right here if we look from above. And the glove box, and here again, like the closing sound. Just listen to the closing sound of the glove box. Good sound design here as well. Slides down smoothly. There you have your space offering in the glove box then. So one more detailed look at the infotainment system. And we already know that one. Basically also the size of the screen. So just look at the Touran or the Passat. So it's basically not the newest thing, but it's still really up to date. And I've shown you the proximity sensor as well. And I think you can very well get along with that map. Zooming in, by the way, is possible here. Either with this button turning them, or you zoom in and out like on a smartphone like this, and there you can also browse the map. Other than that, you got the hotkeys here, like menus. App Connect then will be the possibility to mirror your smartphone for Apple devices, mirror link Android Auto, Android for the Android devices obviously, and you can plug it in then below at the USB. But you can also just use normal Bluetooth
is also possible. For example, you got the phone, then find telephone, then you can connect your Bluetooth telephone and stream music, and also use it just for the voice command. Radio is here, and then again you can either use the menu like this, or go here, change channel, or then use the turning knob again. So loud, silent, whoa. So you've got multiple ways to control it. I think that's good. That's, by the way, no representative consumption, because this is not a very low temperatures now. But I would go for the consumption about 7 liters for the diesel and about 9 to 10 liters for the petrol engine. That would be realistic values, I think. Here the CarNet is from Volkswagen also. Some special apps, but I'm not sure. I would just use my smartphone then instead of those CarNet apps. You can also do some images, just use Beasting, and you can watch your dog or something like that while driving.
Now, meanwhile, I'm not a black dwarf anymore, but no red nose and red ear Thomas because of the temperatures. Let me get inside. Always be clean, we don't want to have so much moisture in the car. Seating position, it's an easy entry. Have that high SUV seating position, and I can just confirm what I've just said also for the first driving. Those seats are really my favorites. I would say I don't need a bigger SUV to have it more comfortable. So this one is really enough. And I mean, if you especially think about, first of all, budget and also crowded cities, this one here then can also be an argument not to go for the full-size SUV segment, but for this one then, because we also now have more space in the interior. The adjustments here are all manual, front, back. Also here, higher, lower, and the backrest of the seat. Electric is nice, definitely, but again, this one cannot really brake then, so there's also an advantage here. And the controls are fairly easy taken with that. The steering wheel can also be adjusted front, back, and higher and lower. And there's also the R line. I mentioned it before. You can also check it out in our static video. And this year we'll also have more driving reviews of the Tiguan coming up. And for example, the R line has this here a little bit flattened end already, but the R line has a really great sporty steering wheel. I love the steering wheel of the R line, but that one here is already quite fancy. And this is now the complete cockpit overview. Look at that. It's not a revolution. It's nothing totally spectacular, but it's just awesome, I think, because it is kept quite simple. They don't play around that much, but it's very, very elegant. And for example, look at that. The line is going from the dashboard up till the co-driver side. It's just a little bit falling down, and that creates some kind of simplicity, but at the same time is a little bit sensual. And I think that's a good example how you can not exaggerate something, but still make it beautiful. Or what's your opinion about that equipment here? Optionally, you can also get a huge panoramic roof now, which is not installed here, but here then you can have more headroom. You've seen it in the front with a 2-zone AC, and the climate control continues here in the rear, because optionally you also have a 3-zone one, and then you can here in the rear also put it warmer and cold, and also the seat heating and another USB and 12-volt power supply. In that 3-zone air conditioning, you also have a special allergy filter, which should be very good if in driving in very polluted cities. I think that feature is specially designed for China, for example. And now I'll make the seat test. Here again, good sound, very solid quality. So you overall get a very good quality impression, definitely. Steep windows, so you can very well look outside. And this is the major change now in the interior. We have 3 centimeters more of knee space, and you as a tall driver here, and this is the short wheelbase. And in the long wheelbase, we have, as I've said earlier, 11 centimeters more in the wheelbase, and most of that will also go into knee space, and then you have even more space. But of course, you also have the 7-seater option then, and then you can think that it will work then that you can really drive for 7 people in here. So, and those tables here, in the previous generation, they were, well, mediocre. Now they have a, they have a stability in the rear, and they also don't flip down automatically. You have to release it here in the front. So there's a better solution now. If you compare our very old, like 2-3 years Tiguan review, there you see how cheap this table was before. My favorite feature, however, here is a very simple one, because right now, as the seats are right here, I'm just leaning back rather. But then with this strap here, I can just pull it and make the backrest of the seat. It's also to flip the seat, but also to adjust it when sitting here. And I prefer driving in the rear compartment with an SUV with a quite steep angle here, and that's very comfortable also on long terms. But if you want to sleep, you just pull it back again. So that's a really good feature. And then I can also show you what to do with this. By the way, you can see also the same structure on the back seats here with Alcantara, this microfiber on the inside. I think it's not like from the company Alcantara, but microfiber and cloth on the outside. Then the armrest with beverages holders. And another good thing will be even more important for the 7-seater option, that you can pull the whole bench in the front, seat like here, enlarge the trunk space or the knee space. And this has a 2/3, 1/3 split. So if I'm sitting here on the single seat now, I can also move to the front and back. That is very well possible. And again, pull the strap and turn the seat here. You can have an almost even loading space, and that gives you a lot of flexibility. And then let's see if we can move the front seat here. Yes, perfect. That's how it's done. So you can also transport surfboard or go to some IKEA shopping with that one. So here again, very easy solution to have a very flexible interior space, and yeah, that's really promising. Now we can take a look at the trunk. We got a lot of luggage with us, and we can check that out from the other perspective, of course, then. Headroom. Thanks, cameraman Holger, today. So if you want to say some greetings to Holger, say it now. Headroom, good idea, because that one has also been improved, although the car's a little bit flatter. When you don't have the panoramic roof, you see I'm 1.86 m in height, still got enough space above my head. And well, with the panoramic roof, I think it would still work. Wasn't I in a panoramic roof car when I was at the IAA at the motor show? I think so. It still works with when you have the panoramic roof. So also headroom is no real issue here. This is the key, by the way. Here in this case with the optional independent heater, which is good for Sweden. And you can open the trunk here as well. This is the electronic hatch opening, or not. And the reason for that is that when the engine is turned on, the remote button for the hatch does not work. But as soon as we turn off the engine, it does work. Let's see if that option is here included, but I don't think so. It is optional, available now, that you can open it with the foot. But, you know, this is live Autogefühl. And so we just do it the traditional way, but it's electric. And let's see. Yeah, the sensitivity is not good enough. Let's see if the closing function. Oh, okay, Volkswagen engineers. Imagine children would be here now. Maybe the head would be cut off. So please pay attention to this. Some manufacturers managed to do that now. Here, this is one of the total fails of this car, and we haven't seen any fail yet. So first fail. But you see, you know, if that's the only thing that is wrong with the car, it's already quite good. Also about the luggage space, this one has been enlarged to a maximum of 150 liters more. You see, we got a lot of stuff here, camera equipment and baggages, and you can also see how we can load through to the front. As I've shown you, can also do it with a co-driver seat, and even better, you can also very flexible switch the seats from here, and then, oops, a lot of stuff here now. And then also the seats are flipped. So it's a very practical solution that you can do that. Usually you can just do that with estate wagons, but here it's also possible. Then some nice other features. I've shown you the towing release. Here we got another real cable plug. Also nice when you go camping or whatever. And also 12-volt power supply is at the other side. So the usage is very flexible. And let's see what we got below here. Option you can also get a replacement tire. Here it's not included, but then you have additional space below there. So let's go with our test ride, the all-new Tiguan. As I just said, the 2-liter TDI. This is the one we're testing first, and later on we'll also have a short group with the petrol engine. 150 horsepower here. We don't have spikes mounted, by the way, so these ones are winter tires, but they are special winter tires that hook up especially very well on snow and ice. And indeed, it's quite surprising, but it's working very well. Because last time I was here 2 years ago, I was just on my way with spikes. But here, if you have very good winter tires suitable for these conditions, it does work, actually. So the question is it a higher put Golf? Is it a higher put Passat? Is it a Touran with off-road capabilities? Maybe a mix of everything, because all of these cars, they are based on this MQB building platform, and so they also have a lot in common. You've already seen it in the interior part of our review. As we have the active info display, the optional digital instruments here, I can see it here very clearly. Of course, it's always something which can break easier than analog instruments, and I'm usually a fan of analog instruments. However, the visualization of that one is pretty clear. That's very good. Right now, we've driven some kilometers on the snow, and what can happen that makes the ride a little bit more uncomfortable is when you gather some snow inside the alloys, and there I must say, as beautiful those alloys are here, we've seen in the exterior part, they gather a lot of snow on the inside because they're so huge holes, so you have to pay attention to that one. Maybe that's an important factor for our friends in Sweden and other very small BMW Camo cars. A lot of car testing here in near Arbeitsjauer. Another BMW testing car, not sure what it was, 5 Series, C3 Series, something like that in that region. Yeah, we are also testing because still minus 20 degrees and see how the car really performs. The car feels very silent, maybe you also hear that. Driving almost 100 kilometers an hour. I can also see this optional head-up display, which is not displaying it in the windscreen but on the separate glass. Well, it looks cheap if you compare it to other systems that are really displayed into the windscreen. For example, we recently seen was BMW, or we also had in the Lexus. But at least a good option to have if you don't want to look down to the instruments while driving all the time. That's GPS. Quite satisfied with the GPS again, because it's very intuitive from the operation, and also the visualization is very clear, so you never have any problems with that. We have certain driving modes in the new Tiguan, and I've shown you this round control in the middle console, and that one helps us in snow. Right now we are in the snow mode, and this snow mode does kind of different things. So it's a little bit complicated, but I can explain it in detail, because in the snow mode there's first of all this traction control, when you push the throttle, and when you're going straight, this traction control is a little bit reduced, that you can, for example, go up a very steep hill even if it's snowing. But as soon as you go in corners, traction control is more active than it would be in a normal mode, and that one keeps the stability then in the corners. And overall, this should give you optimum of traction when you're in harsh conditions, especially here on snow and ice. There's also a normal mode available, and as we hear in the 4Motion drive, at Volkswagen it works like normally everything is transported via the front axle, and then on demand you also get power to the rear axle. You always have just a little bit of power on the rear axle, but before really slip is happening on one of each wheels, more power is transported to the back of the car then. And what is even possible, through electronic differentials, then you can also rule the torque on each single wheel. And they've really put a lot of effort in this all-wheel drive system here for the all-new Tiguan. There's also an off-road mode available. It's has some similarities with the snow mode, but then also some differentiations because, for example, there's a hill descent control you can use. And we later on also going to a snow test track. Maybe we can show you something of these features that they have on the test track as well. Talking about features that also apply just for normal road driving, the car is very silent. That one has really been improved in comparison to the predecessor car. It is basically comparable to a Passat, only if you get to higher speeds, then you realize that this car is sitting higher. It has of course more wind resistance than the Passat, which is sitting lower. Then you get some more noise here from that region, but overall on a very high level. And the question is really if other cars with comparable prices can match that, and I would say at the moment no. I think only cars can match that are more in the very high price regions in the very premium segment. And this car here, I mean, shown in the interior, some parts are not premium. You can have even high premium worth elements there with other vehicles, but you also pay extra price. But a lot of elements do already feel premium here. And that also accounts for the driving, because it's not only silent, also very comfortable. And the funny thing is, also due to this new platform, you have a stiffer ride on the one hand. On the other hand, the suspension is more comfortable, and I think to achieve that one, you can only do it when you build an all-new car and have this different platform. And I think that's one of the main aspects to me for this car, that you have a sporty and more comfortable ride in both of the situations you might be in. So even if the conditions here on the road are, of course, not the usual ones we're driving in with normal dry roads, I feel very safe in the car. And while the Touareg still feels, more bulky, you sit a little bit higher and so on, but the new Tiguan, of course, comes closer also from the driving feeling to the current Touareg. That's also the reason why the new Touareg, will be on the new MLB platform, the longitudinal building platform, and then will most probably be a little bit bigger then. The steering wheel, I mean, it's not a sporty car, but still you have a very direct and natural feeling here from the steering wheel. Of course, I'm doing not too many slalom rides here on snow and ice, just to be safe. But I can show you that later also on the test track, how that performs even better. But that adds again to this very controlled feeling you have on the car. Also, as we've seen on the exterior, you have a very steep window line, and that makes the ride also combined with a good overview, because as well in the front, also to the sides and also to the rear, you have really a very good overview, unless your rear window is covered in snow. But of course, we can also try to remove that with the heated screen. We don't have a heated windscreen here, but we have an independent heating system that can also run when you're not driving. That is also optional, of course, and you can very well use that in Sweden, for example. Right now, when you're outside in the cold and then get in the car again, it's warm enough here inside the car. But I can also activate the heated steering wheel, also a very nice feature in winter, and also the heated seats. It gets activated both at the same time. I think they can also deactivate the seat and just keep the steering wheel on inside the menu then. So overall, a very relaxing ride in this all-new Volkswagen Tiguan, and the car before was already among the best of its segment. And also from driving, I think they have set a new benchmark here. It's definitely no revolution in driving, and it's nothing like to say, okay, it's a total new car that has never been before in this kind of respect, because it also reminds you of so many other aspects we've done from the new Tiguan and the new Passat. But due to this fine evolution in a lot of different elements, it sets the standard in this compact SUV segment even higher. So that's my first driving impression here from driving the normal road. And of course, we'll have more about the drive system and also have a lot of fun later on than on the test track. So let me show you the rear view camera. Going to reverse. And the thing I realized now with the bright snow, The frame rate seems to be sometimes a little bit, shaky, but that's, I think, because it's too much light. Oh, but now actually it's quite okay. Rear view camera is always optional, and you see right here, this normal rear view camera, also with the helping lines. Then this fake Romeo from above, you can also put to the bigger screen, but a little bit irritating when it's going backwards, and this is the sideward view. That's a little bit irritating, but overall a good resolution for the rear view camera. Now let's take the Tiguan on the first snow track. We first stay in normal mode and also leave all the electronic helpers in, because that's what the normal customer would also leave in to guarantee the maximum safety. So we just have a few snowy corners here. Still no spikes, still the very same car we've driven so far. And of course, this is not about drifting here now. Just want to have maximum safety and stability. And the funny thing is, as I've already driven some rounds here on the track, and I've also talked to very experienced instructors which share my opinion, and they, and also I'm saying, did you hear that? Now the stability control was reducing the torque on some of the wheels. If you have no clue how to drive a car and no experience at all, and someone just goes to snow, and or for example, it's the first time you drive on snow with the car, this is the safest and easiest car to drive on snow and ice I've experienced yet, and that without spikes. And reason for this is, first of all, the stability control helps you that you don't have some wheel spin in the rear, no drifting there, but that's kind of normal. But also, most of the time, then you have a hard understeering in the front quite often. But that's also not happening here. So they've really very finely tuned the electronic stability system, that each of the individual wheels are tuned that way. You almost drive like on rails here, even on snow and ice without spikes, and that's a really remarkable thing. So you don't have to be a skilled driver to master this, what I'm doing right now here, and that's really interesting. Of course, you slide just a little bit, but really totally safe. And I think besides of the of the new size of the car and the offering in the space and luggage capacity, which they have improved, and the riding comfort, of course, which I mentioned, this all-wheel drive system and the fine-tuning, if you just leave all the electronic helpers in. Here, if I have the wheel turned like that, usually with normal stability system, I usually just go straight or just, almost come to a standstill. Here it still keeps in the lane. So this fine-tuning of the all-wheel drive system is one of the best things they have done here with the new generation, I think. Interesting is also this was all in normal mode. When I'm in the snow mode now, this reduces the throttle input. Means I can drive even more gentle and helps me even to get more stability and have a smoother ride. Especially in the corners, as I've told you, the stability control is even more active. But when I really need more power to go up a hill, then I have a little bit more power on the torque. However, if you're not pushing the real boundaries, you don't feel such a difference as a normal customer between the modes, because the normal mode is already very refined. Then the off-road mode, and that is interesting because one main difference is also, you can see that in the front display, in the lower right as well, then the ESC, the electronic stability control, is drawn back, because in off-road times, on the one hand, you have to reduce the torque a little bit, that you don't have too much wheel spin. But then again, ESC should not be that active that you don't get stuck. You need some power. And that's done here. And when I'm now in the corners and push the car a little bit wider, I get a little bit more slippery, and I can more manually control the car, which is a good thing for certain situations, and it's a little bit more fun when you're experienced riding on snow and when you're not in a high traffic situation. But for the normal road situations and maximum safety, just keep it in normal or the snow mode then. So a corner coming, and it's not that the car is slipping out with the rear, but I feel I can play around with the car a little bit more, just a little bit. So especially in the slalom area, that is remarkable then. However, there might be certain situations, again not for the normal road conditions, but maybe if you're really stuck and need some more wheel spin, or if you want to play around a little bit, which we'll soon also do in a more extreme way. But here on this test track, I can also hold down the button in the middle console, that beep, because it also works in two different steps. First, turning off the, for the ASI, it says in Germany, or TSC, traction control system. This here, the ESC, electronic stability control. This one is now out, turned off, and that's the maximum I can go with this car. So now driver skill is needed, and you can do some funnier stuff with the car. Let's take it that way. But of course, you have to be careful then that you don't throw the car into the snow. But still, for this deactivate system, the car still is riding very gentle, and it's not that I'm totally out of control. And obviously, that's not also the goal. As we've ridden, for example, the Golf R on snow, there also was a main goal to go in the drifting process and have a lot of fun. But here the Tiguan is of course more about the safety aspect. However, it is fun to drive the car because the steering wheel is still direct, even if you don't really feel that on snow. And maybe you see that when I now push the throttle, the car is also sliding around just a little bit, and you can have some small drifting fun. Here, when I'm drifting too hard, there's no possibility to stop that hard, so we do that on another test rig quite soon. But I think here we've given you a good overview of the different driving systems. So you know also when you own the car what to do with them. But also good to know is that really, there it is, rear spin. You can usually just leave it in a normal mode, and that's kind of it. And that's also a very safe feeling to know as a customer, that you don't have to do so much different things then, and just let the car decide what is the best for you. Here another corner, and as I said, we'll soon go to another test track where we can even push the boundaries even harder. And now we've switched cars. First of all, a different cover. This is now the Habanero Orange. We've already seen that one with the Golf Sportsman, for example. So it's not the ruby red car anymore, but it also has the off-road package and is a Highline equipped car. And under the hood, maybe you already hear it, this is now the turbo petrol engine, the 2-liter version with 180 horsepower. And we can compare that really in the Newton meter with the diesel version, because it should almost come to the same power. And we also take a look at the interior, because we have some kind of different seats there as well, and also a panoramic roof. So tell me already now in the comments, what's your favorite color for the Tiguan? We've shown the 2 here today, and over the year, of course, we'll show you even more colors. And here it is, just to have another look at the engine. This is now the turbo petrol engine, and of course we will be more relevant for our friends in America and also our viewers from Asia. We also take a look at the interior here, and you can see it right here. Those ones are the real animal skin seats, which I do not recommend because they make you sweat, they make you cold, and they use a hide from a living being. However, the seat form is basically the same, and here you can also see the electric functioning, and that is quite a nice solution because everything is really electric, front and back part of the seat, and also the lumbar support, and you have also a memory function here of the seat. But the seat form itself stays the same here, and that is again from the form very comfortable. Definitely, I can also take a seat here, and yeah, it's the same, and I can confirm it. And just to know that you can also see some different seat styles, also how colors are affecting this interior here. However, the other covers here in the interior are the same than in the other car we've seen so far. But there's still one major difference here, because we have here the panoramic roof, optional. It's a completely new one, and it's really, really huge. This one here is the shade, and well, it takes ages, but of course it's a very long way it has to go there. And especially nice for rear passengers to have a very nice view then. And then furthermore, and that's a good thing, I can also open it. So it's not that you have to decide between a huge panoramic roof or a roof to open. This is the second step here now, and you see this opening is quite reasonable. So, well, it's not an SUV convertible, that's only the Range Rover Evoque convertible, which is also quite new. But it comes really close if you have such a wide opening. So we can really recommend it here. In the front, there's no problem with the headspace. Let me just try out again the headspace when the panoramic roof is installed, because it might be important for your purchase. Let's see. What effect do we have here? Let me just put the... for me, 186 millimeters, still got some space above my head. That would be still okay. If you're above 190 millimeters, that might be a problem then. So if you want to go with more than, taller than 190 meter persons regularly in the rear, then you should not go for the panoramic roof. But I think for most cases, for most usages, will be no problem. You can easily go for that option, and you have a really nice panoramic view. Now we're on the famous ice lake near Arbeitsgau, and we really push the boundaries now. But first of all, as we're on ice now really, I will show you the normal driving mode is really incredible, and we also drive the petrol engine now. I'm more a petrol engine fan. It's a little bit more silent, the engine, but equal power, and both of those engines we present here today is really good, suitable power for this car here. When I'm in the normal driving mode, I can just stress the fact I've never driven a car that is so easy to drive on such simple conditions. Hardly anything can happen really, and that's really amazing. Of course, that might also play a good role. I have some very good winter tires, but the stability control, even here on ice, I don't have massive understeering. I'm not just driven to the front, and that is really amazing. Then in the off-road mode, this effect now plays more a role here, because the off-road mode, the stability control is drawn back a little bit more, and therefore here in the off-road mode I can have some more wheel spin, and so here on the ice it plays a bigger effect, and you see it right here. Even now in the off-road mode, still have good control, but I can do some fun stuff and let the rear end slip around. But most of the time you see I don't have to work with the car that much, because still the car is catching what I do wrong. Let's take it that way at the moment. So to really have a lot of fun with the car, you have to go even further. You see it right here. Rear end is caught by the car itself, and still you have a very safe ride, and again, very impressive setup. So I go to the ESC button then, special ESC button. I hold it, press it once. Would be like if you're driving in the off-road mode, but then holding it. Did that once on the other track, now it's activated. Now I slowly move the car a little bit further and try to do something with the rear end. And been on this track here also with the Golf R, so I know the track kind of. It has just a little bit changed from last time. And with the Golf R, of course, more aggressive. But here, well, so far, if you just go slalom-like, still, although all the systems are not activated, well, I think some are still a little bit active, but still good control of the car. So, I would say, it's time to have some fun now on this racetrack here. So enjoy with me the snow riding in the all-new Tiguan with the stability control deactivated as far as it goes. And you see, well, the Golf R is definitely more aggressive. Here you really have to push the car that the rear end slides out. But of course it speaks for the purpose of this car, which it should fulfill, being safe first. So I really have to turn the steering wheel and then press the throttle really hard, then the rear end slides out. And our luggage in the trunk also doesn't like that much. But the luggage has to cope with that now. I really just love driving on ice because you can do a lot of things with the car and still be very smooth. But of course, there are some G-forces applied, of course. So I love those long corners, really, where you can slide around the rear. There it is. Now to the other side. Car still working. Stability control a little bit active still, but that's perfectly fine for such a car. I don't expect a non-racing car to have even more. There it is. That is just really so much fun. And by the way, if you think, well, oh, just Thomas can do that, but actually Volkswagen is also offering some kind of program for customers like this from the Volkswagen driving experience. So you can even do that as a customer at some point. Did you see that? That is just real smooth. And you see the steering wheel doesn't need so wide steering angles. And the steering is that direct that I can really very easily counter steer. That way, for example, I initiated the drift with some braking. You see, but because braking can sometimes be even worse on ice, because then the tires start to lose some traction. But here in this case, I can also use it to my advantage if I want the car to be in a drift. So enjoyable here. So let's go some high speed here now. And braking on ice, still a good performance. I mean, still we have no spikes. This is a nice corner. Oh. But now we can exit with a nice drift. And stuff like this can of course also happen. But here it's no problem because you can just get out again if you're not driving at too high speeds and then continue your journey. So it's not like on the real dry racetrack where it would cause a lot of damage, and that's also what I love about snow riding. So now we're here at the King's discipline, the circle, the ice circle, and that's one of the things. It's maybe the thing I like the most about driving a car, if you can do that. I feel that some stability systems are still active, so it's not that freely possible. But as you've seen from our outside shots, now we're going to the outside. As you can go some snow. Look at that. Seen in our outside shots, really spectacular stuff you can do with the car still. I just love that. Enjoy that here with me. If you can see straight when you look out the side window, that is. And I guess the worst nightmare for every cameraman. Just throttle and steering, and that's it. Oh, I love that. Outside start again now. That's the way. You can do it with one hand, by the way, if you have some practice. What do you think, guys? Maybe one full circle for finishers. One full circle. That's the way. We had really a lot of effort today. Hope you liked it. And now let's dig deeper into the subject. We're talking to Jürgen Pütschler. He was responsible for the chassis development of the all-new Volkswagen Tiguan. So my first question is, what is it now? Is it a higher Golf, a higher Passat, or maybe a Tiguan with off-road features, or is it really standalone?
I think it's a standalone, but combining all the good attributes that we implemented with MQB on the Golf, but now newly developed into the SUV segment based on MQB.
So what main advantages do you get from the MQB platform now if you compare it to the predecessor model?
Perhaps the most interesting fact definitely is the body shell, which is significantly lighter than the previous platform versions, and at the same time delivering significantly higher stiffness at the chassis attachment points, which at the end of the day then enables us to get the cars significantly more agile, but at the same time more stable and precise.
Yeah, that's actually what I also realized in driving, that somehow it was more comfortable but also stiffer at the same time. Will it also vary maybe in an R-Line package or in further versions that you play around with the suspension setup a little bit?
We're of course always all the time trying to further improve the MQB platform and to work out further opportunities on the platform for MQB and also the SUV segment. But we don't have detailed plans at the moment that we can communicate.
We will also see the 7-seater version. I've talked about it earlier. So what are the main differences then? We talked about, it's 11 centimeters more in wheelbase, 15 more in the total length. But thinking about the chassis, what are the main differences then? Or can you somehow use kind of the same chassis for that one?
We do have a very good approach on developing the long wheelbase version. Obviously, the wheels are in a different position, which at the end of the day means that we have different inertias, different position of the center of gravity, and we are adopting our chassis to exactly those changes, dimensional changes. And coming back to the body stiffness, what we had at the very beginning, we really developed the extension of the platform to achieve the same stiffness performances as on the short wheelbase version.
Do you also have any insight, because some of our viewers are always wondering whether Volkswagen is produced in Germany or in Mexico? Some say, oh, well, the ones that are built in Mexico, they have less quality. Now the Tiguan is an all-new concept. It will also built in Mexico. Can we await any changes there, or can you assure that it's the same build quality in all of the plants?
We do have very good procedures, whether it's development or production, to ensure that we have a very high level on quality wherever the vehicles are built.
And that's also the reason that when you buy a 7-seater in Germany, you also get the one from Mexico and won't realize any differences then?
You won't realize any differences.
Okay, so we take this promise, and of course, as soon as a 7-seater version is available, we're going to test that, and then we talk again.
Back to me if it's not the case.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, guys, that was our story for today. It was an incredible test with so many different aspects, and we've shown you, I think, almost everything you need to know about the all-new Volkswagen Tiguan. I want to hear your thoughts of, see my breath, how cold it is? It's really a funny thing. I want to hear your thoughts on the car, on the different versions, colors we've shown you, also of course on our driving part. My conclusion is, exterior, well, first of all, the old Tiguan was said, okay, practical car, but not a real beauty. This one to me is a real beauty of an SUV. They have done a good design job, elegant, not too exaggerated. Same to the interior, a lot of refinement we have then in the interior. Everything, you get a direct overview, everything is so easy to control, and high quality materials, and I especially loved the seat combination we had in the ruby red car with a bright microfiber on the inside. That was my favorite. You now have more space in the Tiguan. That is very important because the trunk and also the rear knee space was not enough before. Now it is. And especially when the 7-seater option comes, it's also very well suitable for the US and also for the Chinese market even more. And so I think this car will be more successful than ever because overall, also take it from the driving, how silent it is, how refined it feels when driving, then also with the new off-road systems that offer you a very good feeling of safety. Overall, I must say, at the moment, if you take all aspects into consideration, price-performance ratio, because this new one starts at 30,000 euros, but the entry version will be soon available then with the 1.4 TFSI. Then again, entry price will be 25,000 euros in Germany, taking Germany as the reference prices. Other markets, you have to check the website then because they always vary a little bit, but it will approximately cost the same as the predecessor generation. So if you take all the aspects into consideration, then I must say this is the best overall SUV there is now on the market. This one here sets the benchmark, and we're very excited, of course, what other manufacturers will answer to that one here. Thank you very much for watching Autogefühl for this very special episode. We have really a lot of effort today, and I hope you appreciate it and spread the word. And I hope I'll also see you at the next Autogefühl episode with Thomas. Thanks and bye, guys.